Welcome all for the today's session. We continue with our biostatistics module, and today's session is about graphical presentation of the data and the descriptive statistics. So last session we have talked about the data, then how to summarize the data that we have discussed. Now we will discuss about the graphical presentation of the data, and this is for the better understanding and to take out the better conclusions from the data, because you know how to treat the data, that is more important. Then only we'll be able to get some conclusion. Now, what is the importance of the graphical presentation? It makes data easy to understand and interpret. Okay, once you put it in a graphical presentation, it helps to identify the patterns, trends, distribution, outliers, etc., and is used in research papers. Even there are many SBAs which are asked on this graphical presentation. Clinical audit presentation, it is useful, and in epidemiology it has got lot of uses. Okay, so most commonly type of graph which are used are the bar graph, then you have histogram, then you have a line chart. Okay, now bar graph is useful when you are dealing with a discrete or categorical data. Here main use is the compare the frequencies. Okay, so you have suppose two different variables and categorical variables, and you have certain frequencies, then you can compare the frequencies in the two groups. And here characteristic feature is that the bars are separated by the spaces, because it is a discrete variable or it is a categorical variable, so bars will always be separated by the spaces. Okay, now next category of graph is a histogram. Okay, here the type of data is a continuous. Okay, so it shows the mainly the distribution, and the bars will be touching to each other. So this is what is the characteristic of histogram. In histogram, the bars will be touching to each other. Third type of graph is a line chart. Here the data is summarized with respect to the time. It shows the trends and the points are joined by the lines. Okay, so we'll see one by one. Okay, there are many others also type of presentation that we will see subsequently after this. Okay, so first is a bar graph. So graphical representation of the discrete or categorical data. Now you have two axes, x-axis and y-axis. Generally on x-axis you put the categories or the values that you will be putting on x-axis, and y-axis you will put the frequencies or the percentages that you will put on the y-axis. Okay, and feature is that bars are separated by the spaces. Height of the bar is the frequency. Okay, and useful for comparing the categories. The common uses mainly for the educational status or the blood groups, mode of delivery, cancer stages. So these are, you know, different categories. In educational status you will have different classes, so that you put it in this particular bar diagram. Okay, so bar graph is used mainly for qualitative data or categorical data or the discrete variables. Okay, so please remember, bar graph is useful for qualitative or categorical or discrete variables. Okay, this is the thing which you should remember. This is the example of bar graph. So you have the lower class, then you have the working class, then you have the middle class, and then you have the upper class. Okay, and this is what is the mean education. So you have got a x-axis and the y-axis. Okay, difference between the bar graph and the histogram. Okay, so what happens in the bar graph? So bar graph is used for the discrete or the categorical variable. Bars are separated. There is order is not important in the bar graph. X-axis will have categories, and main use is to compare the categories. That is what is the importance of the bar graph. While in histograph, it is a continuous type of data. It is bars are touching to each other, and order is very important. Okay, then x-axis will have the continuous variable, and main use is mainly to show the distribution. Okay, so this is what about the histogram. So third type of presentation is a line chart or the line graph. Okay, that is the graphical representation of the data collected over the time. Most of the time it is with respect to the time your data is collected. So x-axis will have the time, y-axis will have the value or the frequency. Okay, so data points connected by the lines and demonstrates the trends over a period of time. Okay, so twin birth rate over the years. Okay, then monthly temperature, then disease incidence trends, maternal mortality trends. Okay, so this all can be put or the shown by the line chart or the line graph. When we want to show something with respect to the time, it is better to show by the line graph or the line chart. Okay, so from examination point of view, you should remember the best graph for trend over a period of time is the line graph. This you should learn. Okay, This is what is the example of the line graph. Okay. Now here, this is the time. Okay. It is in years, 2015, 2016, 2017. This is the, and here is the percentage of chronic disease patients. Okay. And here is the frequency which is written. And here again, there are multiple lines with respect to the age. Okay. So age, red is the between the age of 41 to 50. Green is 21 to 31 to 40, and blue is 20 to 30. Okay, so this is what is the age and the shown with respect to the time. Okay, so that is what is the importance of the line graph. Now, apart from this, that is the histogram, bar diagram, and the line graph. There are some other, and these are also asked in the examination. They are the scatter plot, box whiskers plot, pie chart, and frequency polygon. Especially the scatter plot and the box whiskers plot you should know. Okay, these concepts are asked. Okay, so scatter plot is mainly for the relationship between two continuous variables. When we want to discuss about two variables which are continuous in nature, then scatter plot is you can put. Okay, then you have a box whiskers plot, that is for the distribution and the outliers. Okay, the next is a pie chart, that is important for the percentage composition. Okay, there are different categories and each having the different percentages, so pie chart is useful. Then you have a frequency polygon, that is the shape of distribution. Okay, now first we'll talk about the scatter diagram. Okay, scatter plot or the scatter diagram. So main issue is the relationship between the two variables. Okay, here it is the number of hours of study, and here the exam mark. So we are studying two variables, number of hours and marks obtained. So 5 hours of study, 10 hours of study, 15 hours of study, so on and so forth, and the exam marks. Okay, so this is the way every individual, they will put a observation, they'll put a cross, and then the where the maximum observation lie, you will draw a line. Okay, so a scatter graph comparing the hours of studying and the percentage score for examination. Okay, so this is the scatter plot, where every observation you are going to put it, and then you will see the where the maximum number of observations are lying. So what it shows, each dot is an observation or the person. Okay, so every dot is an observation. The x-axis is one continuous variable is taken, y-axis another continuous variable is taken. It helps to identify the whether there is a positive correlation or whether the negative correlation. Sometimes you can have the correlation like this also. Okay, so here there is a positive correlation. Sometimes there may not be any correlation. These values will be just scattered. Okay, and most of the values will lie around this. Okay, so that is the positive correlation. If there is a negative correlation, it will be like that. Okay, then sometimes there may not be any correlation also. Simple example is x-axis is showing number of hours studied, y-axis is telling about the exam marks. Okay, so hours studied, 1 hour study 40 marks, 2 hours study 50 marks, 3 hours study 60 marks, so on and so forth. Okay, so interpretation, as study hours increase, marks also increase, therefore there is a positive correlation. Okay, so from examination point of view, you should remember that it is used for the continuous two variables when you want to show, and both are continuous. So it is used for continuous versus continuous variables. It shows the correlation between the two variables. However, it cannot prove the causation. It can tell about the correlation, but it cannot tell about the causation. Okay. Now, next type of presentation is a box whiskers plot. This is also very important and frequently asked concept, box whisker plot. Okay, main is the distribution of the data and detection of the outlier. That is what is the importance of the box whiskers plot. We have seen in the last session about the quartiles. Okay, so here this is the first quartile, this is the second quartile, this is the third quartile, and this is the fourth quantile. Okay, the 50th percentile corresponds to the median. Okay, and this is the interquartile rate, that is the Q3 minus Q1. Okay, that means 50% of the observations will lie in here in this category. Okay, so you suppose in this particular chart your Q1 is 4 and Q3 is 12, then interquartile range will become 12 minus 4, that is 8. Okay, and this is the middle observation. So your median will be the average of these two values. So 8 plus 9 divided by 2, so 8.5 is the median. That is what is the median or the 50th percentile. Okay, so Box-Whisker plot summarizes the data using median, quartile, range, and the outliers. Okay, so when you have the Box-Whisker plot, the box plot summarizes the data using median, quartiles, range, and the outliers. Okay, so the middle line is the median. Okay, that is the 50th centile. Then box is the interquartile range, that is the Q3 minus Q1. Then whiskers is the spread of the data. Okay, so these are the whiskers. Okay, that is the spread of the data. Okay, then dots outside the whiskers are the outliers. Okay, here is the example. Height of the students, this is the height of the students, 150, 152, 153, so on and up to 190. Now we arrange the data in a orderly manner. The most heights are around 150 and 157 centimeter. Okay, so 190 centimeter is far away, so therefore outlier is the, this 190 is actually the outlier. So maximum students are having the height between 150 to 157, but there is only one which is 190. So that becomes the outlier. Okay. So this is best graph for median, then the spread and the outliers. It is used for the skewed data and it is best on quartiles. Okay. So that is what is the Box-Whisker plot. Okay. Then next is a pie chart. The main use of pie chart is showing about the percentage composition. Okay, so this is what is the pie chart. Most of us know about the pie chart, because when you want to show the percentages of different categories or different variables, we can show in a pie chart. So the circle is divided into sectors. Each sector represents the proportion or the percentages. Example is blood group in the class. So A blood group 40% people, we have B blood group 30% student, O blood group 20%, AB only 10%. So largest sector is a blood group A, smallest is a AB. Okay, so it is used for categorical type of data. Total is always 100%. Best for proportion or composition. Difficult when too many categories are present. Suppose there are many categories and if the percentage is hardly 0.1%, 0.2% for certain categories, then the pie chart may not be showing it appropriately. Okay, so next type of presentation is a frequency polygon. The main use of frequency polygon is showing the shape of the distribution. Okay, a frequency polygon with histogram using the given data. So here actually it is the histogram. Then you calculate the middle value of each and or the frequency of each, and then you join the points here. Okay, that is what is the frequency polygon. Okay, so a line graph made by joining the midpoints of the histogram bars, it helps to visualize the shape of the data and the symmetry and the skewness. Okay, so the midpoint of the histogram bars, they are joined by the line. Okay, that is the frequency polygon. So example is that, suppose these are the class intervals, marks between 10 to 20, you have 2, 20 to 30, you have 5, and these are the classes and this is the frequency. Okay, so interpolation, the peak in the middle, equal fall on both sides, therefore there is a normal or symmetrical distribution. Okay, so this is the normal distribution, there is equal fall on either side. Okay, so that is what is the normal or symmetrical distribution. It is used for continuous grouped data. It is useful to compare multiple distributions and similar purpose as histogram. Okay, now just in summary, what we have learned about the scatter plot. Scatter plot is talking about the relationship. Okay, then Box-Whisker plot, it talks about the spread and the outliers. Then you have the pie chart. Pie chart will show as a parts of a whole, and always it will total will correspond to 100%. Okay, then you have a frequency polygon which will talk about the pattern and the shape. Okay, So there are certain guidelines for the graph. The selection of the axis, x-axis will always take the values of the categories, y-axis will have the frequencies or percentages. Okay, the units must be clearly mentioned. This is very important, whether what you are taking on the x-axis, what you are taking on the y-axis, that you have to mention. Okay, suppose you have taken the height is in the centimeter or meter, whatever you have measured, that you have to mention. Then incorrect scaling may mislead the interpretation. Okay, so from examination point of view, just remember certain things. Graphs not starting at 0. Normally the graph should start at 0. And unequal intervals. If the intervals are not equal, then that is also not appropriate. And the distorted scales. So the scale should also be mentioned. Okay. So essential component of a good graph is that the graph should have the title. It explains the graph. Then x-axis should be labeled, that is the identifies the variable on the x-axis. Y-axis label will identify the frequency or the percentage, and the unit will avoid the confusion. Okay. Now, which graph to choose for which type of data? This is they can ask you in the examination. Suppose you have the blood groups, it is a discrete variable. Okay, or categorical variable. So go for the bar graph. You have a age distribution, that is a continuous data, go for histogram. Then maternal mortality across the years, you can, because it is across the with respect to the time, go for line graph. And relationship between height and weight. So you are dealing with the relationship between two variables, then you go for scatter plot. Okay. So you have in histogram, there are no gaps between the bars, while in bar graph, the gaps are present. Okay, so that finishes the today's topic of graphical representation. Okay, we have few questions, doctor. Who wants to read? Dr. Monica, you want to read the question?
Question number 1. A researcher studies a relationship between the maternal age and the systolic blood pressure in a pregnant woman. Each woman's age is plotted against her blood pressure as an individual dot on a graph. Which graphical method is most appropriate? A. Pie chart. B. Histogram. C. Scattered plot. D. Bar graph. And E. Box-Whisker plot. Sir, it is scattered plot.
Yes, because you are dealing with two variables. Okay, you are dealing with two variables, so it should be scatter plot. So scatter plots are used to study the relationship between two continuous variables. Maternal age and the blood pressure are both are continuous variable. Each point represents one observation. Next.
Question number 2. A researcher wants to display the distribution of birth weights among the 500 newborn. Which graph is most appropriate? A. Histogram. B. Pie chart. C. Scattered plot. D. Bar graph. And E. Line chart.
Histogram.
This is your continuous variable. So go for histogram. Birth weight is a continuous data. Histogram shows frequency distribution of continuous variable. So in histograms, bars will touch each other. So this is a continuous data. Okay. Next, go on, doctor.
Question number 3. A hospital compare a number of women using different contraceptive methods. A. OCPs, IUCD, condoms, and injectable contraceptive. Which graph is most suitable? A. Histogram. B. Scatter plot. C. Frequency polygon. D. Bar graph. And E. Line chart. Sir, it's line chart.
No, here it will be bar because every category is separate. No, OCP is separate, IUCD is separate, condoms. So one category is there. Okay.
Okay.
So it will be a bar graph. Okay. Contraceptive methods are categorical or discrete data. Okay. Bar graphs compare frequencies between the categories. Bars are separated by the spaces. Next.
A public health doctor wants to show the percentage distribution of cause of maternal mortality in district. Which graph is best? A pie chart, scattered plot, histogram, frequency polygon, and the line chart. Sir, it's a pie chart.
Yes, because we want to talk about the percentage. Okay. So pie chart display percentage composition. Total circle represents 100%, useful for proportions and categories. Next.
Question number 5. A data set of serum cholesterol values contains a few extremely high values. Investigator wants a graph that clearly identifies the outlier. Which graph is the most appropriate? A. Histogram, B. Pie chart, C. Scatter plot, D. Box-Whisker plot, and E. Line chart. So answer is D. Box-Whisker chart plot.
Yes, Box-Whisker plot, because that will tell us about the outliers. Okay. So box plots shows the median, quartile, spread, and outliers. Outlier appear as a separate points beyond the whiskers. Okay. Dr. Sansi, you want to read the next few questions?
Yes, sir. An epidemiologist wants to compare the shapes of hemoglobin distributions in two populations. Which graph is most useful? Pie chart, frequency polygon, scatter plot, box and whisker plot, bar graph. The scatter plot.
Epidemiologist wants to compare the shapes of hemoglobin distribution in two populations. You have two population, and we want to know the about the hemoglobin. Okay, so what type of bar here? It is a frequency polygon. Frequency polygon helps to visualize the shape of distribution, symmetry, skewness, and it is useful comparing multiple distributions. Okay, next.
Which statement regarding histograms is correct? Histograms are used for categorical data. Bars in histograms are separated by spaces. Histograms display continuous data. Histograms are usually mainly used for trends over time. Histograms show percentage composition. Search option C, histogram displays continuous data.
Histograms display continuous data. Histograms are used for continuous variable. Bars touch each other because data is continuous. Next.
Monthly number of cesarean deliveries in a hospital are recorded for 3 years. Monthly number of cesarean deliveries in a hospital are recorded for 3 years. Which graph is most suitable? Pie chart, scatter plot, histogram, line chart, box and whisker plot. Is recorded over a period of time. So, sir, line chart.
Yeah, it is with respect to the time. So anything with respect to the time, best is a line chart. Okay, line charts are best for data over the time, trends, temporal changes. Points are connected by the lines. Next.
A graph has rectangular bars touching each other. X-axis representing hemoglobin values, y-axis representing frequency. What is this graph? Pie chart, bar graph, scatter plot, histogram, line chart. So, histogram as it is continuous.
Yes, it is a continuous and bars are touching each other. That they have given this particular thing. Okay, continuous data touching bars. That is the histogram. Next.
A researcher wants to study whether increasing BMI is associated with increasing fasting blood glucose level. A researcher wants to study whether increasing BMI is associated with increasing fasting blood glucose levels. Which graph should be used? Bar graph, pie chart, scatter plot, histogram, frequency polygon. Sir, option E, frequency polygon.
Why frequency polygon? A researcher wants to study whether increasing BMI is associated with the increasing fasting blood glucose.
Scattered plot.
Because we want to know the relationship between the two. So it will be better to plot it as a scatter plot. So BMI and fasting glucose both are continuous variable. Scatter plots assess association or correlation between two continuous variable. However, they do not tell about the causation. They will just tell us about how these are both two are correlated. Okay, but they are not talking about the causation. Okay.
Okay.
So again, in summary, box graph, bar graph is for categorical or discrete. It compares the categories and bars are separated. Histogram is for continuous data. It will talk about the distribution. The bars are touching to each other. Scatter plot is for continuous versus continuous. It tells about the correlation and key feature. There are dots. Okay. Pie chart is for categorical data. It talks about the percentage composition. and circle sectors. The data will be shown in circle sectors. Box-Whisker Plot, again it is for continuous data. It will talk about the spread as well as outliers, and the key feature is a quartile. Then there is a frequency polygon. It is for continuous data. Then main use for the shape of the distribution, and it is joined by the lines. Then line chart is with for time series. It will talk about the trend or the time, and the points are connected. Okay, so that finishes the today's session about the presentation of the graphical presentation of the data. Okay, and this is the another example where you have the bar diagram, which is commonly used to provide a visual comparison of figures in time series. Okay, you have the gastroenteritis patients, you have the enteric fever patients, and you have malaria patients. So you have three different categories and the number of patients in each category. Then you have the male, female, and the total. Okay, so these are the males having the gastroenteritis. Here, these are the females which have the gastroenteritis, and this is the total. Same for the enteric fever and same for the malaria. And here it is the explanation which is given. Okay, and you see that these bars are separated by the they are separate from each other. Okay, now let us talk about the histogram. Okay, it is the graphical representation of a continuous data. So when you have got a continuous data, your graphical representation of the continuous data is done by histogram. So data is divided into class intervals, rectangles drawn for each interval. There are no gaps between the bars, and area represents the frequency. Okay, so x-axis will have the class interval, y-axis will have the frequency. Okay, commonly like your continuous variables such as age, weight, blood pressure, BMI. So all this you can put it into this histogram. Okay, so what important points from examination point of view you should remember: histogram is used for continuous variable. Bars will touch each other. It helps to identify the normal distribution, or if there is a skewness, or if there are any outliers that you will come to know. Okay, that you will come to know by the height of the bar itself. Okay, so this is the what is the image of the histogram. Okay, so this is the histograph image. Here the frequencies are here, and this is the age group. Okay, below 20 there are 7 age, the frequency is 7. Between 21 to 25, here the class interval is actually mentioned is wrong. Here we should not have the same thing. Okay, so the class interval should be equal and mutually exclusive. Okay, then you have the normal distribution, another example. Okay, so this is what is the frequency, and here there are values. Okay, this is another third example where the blood pressure is taken on the x-axis and the frequency is given on the y-axis.